Hi, I'm Louise Thompson and I'm great company.
I remember when you and I went on our date together, and it was at a cricket pitch. Do you remember? Do you remember this?
We did golf.
Oh shit. Okay.
Jay.
Whoa. All right.
Wait, was it cricket?
You
took like a lot of girls to do the same thing.
No,
as
I
well.
didn't.
Yeah, you did.
Listen, my it's hazy for me as well.
I got a little amnesia.
Yeah, you can't remember that. So when you do a podcast, right? How many podcasts have you done?
Only 3.
This is your third.
Ever?
Yeah. When I do this one, I always think about what's the first question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat in the office and I was thinking about it. And honestly, Wheeze, I need to say to the listener, if I call you Wheeze, that's what I've called you for so long. And we're going to get into our relationship and everything. But I was thinking about what I should open with. And I think the easiest thing to open with you is that it's just ask how you are.
Thank you. That's a really lovely question. I'm actually doing really well. I'm doing well. It's been a horrendous 2 years. I could never have predicted any of the stuff that happened to me that it was going to happen. I mean, you never think right? You never think it's going to happen to you. And I'd always been so lucky in life. Hadn't really faced much adversity. And yeah, then my whole world came crashing down. But now, I feel strong, like stronger than ever. I mean, I had a recent surgery 3 months ago, and that was all of it's been really challenging, and I'm sure we'll go into more of the details about what I've been through. But I feel actually better than ever, which is really saying something. Don't get me wrong, there are moments where I think I'm sort of 95% back to my old self.
Yeah.
I still have, I suffer with debilitating anxiety sometimes, and, I'll have, I will suffer with an element of PTSD for my whole life because it's kind of a chronic disorder. But I feel like physically well, and also like mentally, I'm kind of I'm in a good spot.
It's funny, right? With because I throughout your whole time and this whole chaotic 2 years you've had, Weezen, honestly, man, it like even like reading about you and reading bits of your book and all things, man, it like really like breaks my heart and almost like makes me emotional, and I don't know why. And we saw each other recently, and it made me, and if I think about it, it makes me sad because you came in and you got emotional when you first saw me because you said, oh, it reminds me of my old life.
I cried.
Yeah, you did.
And you know what? It was weird because I hadn't cried for quite a long time, and it really caught me by surprise. And I used to cry all the time. I was just the person that cried on me and Chelsea every flipping episode. So my dad used to call me Tears Thompson. And I was feeling strong when I came in for that meeting with you. And then just seeing your face, it just made me cry because it reminded me of like an amazing life that I had, and I felt like so much had happened, and I guess like seeing you was a bit of a reminder of what, of how easy things were before. And also it was just really nice to see you.
I know. Because
so much time had passed, and I suppose we'd spent a large chapter of our lives together, working together, and those were really kind of the easy glory days.
Yeah, it was I always message you and I'm always checking on you because also I also just never need a reply. I don't want replies. I just want you to know that it's like I was always like just checking in, making sure you're okay. And recently I sent you this message and I said, social media is a strange old thing, and sometimes you don't really know what's going on or whatever it is. But I just saw you, and I just saw you had this glow back, and you felt just so much happier and healthier and better through everything, and I was like, oh my god, it feels like you feel stronger now, which is amazing.
I've had thank you firstly for all of your messages, because every single message that someone has sent me has meant so much. And I've had so many people reach out to me over the last couple of months to say, I've seen something different in you. Like you've got your old spark back. And it's incredibly encouraging. But also it makes me think, God, well, I mean, I feel like there are a few things to unpick here. I mean, obviously, like from the physical perspective, I had my colon removed at the end of January. And that was really inflamed, covered in ulcers, and was preventing me from absorbing any proper nutrients. And I was malnourished, dehydrated, and was in a really, really bad state. And so having that taken out of my body, even though it was incredibly traumatic, and I'm kind of dealing with some of the after effects now with like hair loss, and there's just some horrendous things that you have to go through. And being put to sleep again for, I don't know, the like 4th or 5th time in 2 years. It's incredibly petrifying.
Why is that scary for you?
Because you don't know if you're going to wake up, and you don't know. So I've been put to sleep. Well, the whole being put to sleep thing is quite interesting. So when I actually, when I give birth, and I was talking to someone about this morning, I've spoken to a number of women about this. One of the things that I have a problem with now, that I'm kind of far removed enough from the incident and having some more time to kind of reflect back, I wish that I had been put to sleep during that initial operation. So I was awake for over 3 hours in an operating theatre on a table, watching myself be operated on, feeling every shaky hand, the tools, the facial expressions, seeing the blood splatter everywhere, all over the floor, seeing my partner sat next to me, turning to him every 15 seconds, asking whether I was still alive, like really witnessing what I believed was dying without any reassurance, because everybody's busy. You know, they're working to like fight to save my life and to operate. So that is weird, because I think that being awake for that has contributed to part of my PTSD.
And this is when you were pregnant with Leo. You were giving birth to Leo, right?
So this was on the 15th of November 2021 when I gave birth to Leo, my son, who's now 2.5. And, you know, I kind of call it the best and the worst day of my life. There were a lot of things that went wrong. And I really, I really wanted to have a C-section, because I think you know your body, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you've got to trust that medical professionals also know what's best for you. It's a really awkward position to be in. I basically had no experience in the medical field. I don't think I'd ever actually stepped foot into a hospital before.
Yeah, and why would you know what's going on?
No, and I'm someone that, you know, I don't even take medication. I think I've taken paracetamol like twice in my life, and now I've been just pumped for so much. But I really, really wanted to have a C-section, and I made that quite clear in a lot of my midwife appointments, but I was constantly sent around the houses. There was a lack of continuity of care, so I was faced with a lot of different people when I was having these kind of early pregnancy conversations. And you know, I'm not like, the old Louise definitely was a bit of a pushover, you know, a bit of a people pleaser. I was a bit of a nodding dog. And I didn't know how to advocate for myself properly. I then felt like I was, every time I had one of these appointments, I slightly felt like I was back at school speaking to a teacher. You know,
wow, I never thought of it like that, because you're just being told certain things. So just so I get this straight, right? Because so you fall pregnant with Leo.
Yeah.
You start going to, you've had a miscarriage before.
Yeah.
As well. So quite rightly, you're nervous about this whole situation, because you're pregnant again and you've experienced this before. You start going to the hospital, you go to the NHS, and you're doing it through that. And you're going into these medical situations, and these doctors and nurses are just telling you what's going on. And you're going, okay, fine. And you're just going with it because they're the professional. And
well, it's not that they're telling you, they are. Yes, I mean, I was repeatedly encouraged to have a home birth, a water birth at home, because I was low risk and had always been someone that was kind of the poster girl. Well, not that they necessarily knew that, by the way. I don't think any of them looked at me and knew who I was, but they
you were healthy, you were fine.
But I was healthy, fine. You know, I'd done the cover of Women's Health. I mean, I was working out 5 times a day, and I'm young and I'm kind of able-bodied, and people looked at me and thought, you're low risk. Yeah, you're a perfect candidate for a home birth. And I don't know whether it was a kind of box-ticking exercise, but I'd never considered that in my life. Like, I don't know anyone that's had a home birth personally. I know, obviously, I've seen people that have on Instagram. It's not something that I'd ever felt that I was interested in, ever. And you're right. It wasn't an easy time for me because I did suffer with pretty bad anxiety having had a miscarriage. And I know that it's something that's so common, and it's so good that women are speaking up about it so much now. And actually men too as well. Ryan really struggled after we had the miscarriage. And one of the things that he actually struggled with was the fact that no one ever asked him how he was, like ever. No one ever asked. Happen, does it? But we, so the pregnancy was like fraught with anxiety, and so there were things that I did to try and get through. Like I had a kind of a WhatsApp group with myself called Smiley, and I would track everything that I was going through. So, whether I would feel a kick, or whether if I'd eaten something that made me feel bad, or like whether, just things that I was then feeling funny about. I knew you'd like that.
I love
so it was called
that.
Smiley, but you know why it was actually called Smiley? Because when you pee on a pregnancy stick, you either get, actually it was the ovulation sticks where you get a smiley face if you're ovulating.
And so you would have your little own diary that you would track the entire time. Yeah. And so during the pregnancy, you would be going, okay, I've just eaten avocado. That made me feel a bit weird. I probably shouldn't eat avocado at this time. Is that, so you would have your own track thing so you could go back on and look at it.
Yeah, it definitely, it was useful. It's quite interesting now looking back. And one of the things actually that's really horrendous was that I had actually written to myself a note on there saying that I was worried that I was going to die in childbirth, which obviously is really scary, that I felt so unconfident with where I was at in terms of like my birthing plan, that I was really actually fearing for my life even before I got into the operating theatre.
Just so I understand, and I want to give sort of context to the listeners. You said before, you were living at your mum's house because you were renovating your house. That you have anxiety because you've already had a miscarriage, and that's really upsetting. There's a fire at your mum's house when you guys are sleeping there. So that's a bit of anxiety. That's a huge amount of anxiety. So there's a lot of sort of anxiety going on. And do you know what's funny, Louise, is also... God,
that was awful.
Fuck. Man, it's just
honestly, what the fuck?
Jesus.
I'm going to win the lottery this week.
Yeah, there you go.
Putting my ticket in. Who wants to come in?
Here we go, baby. But you're at home, what happens? So you're pregnant, you're living with Ryan, you're living at your mum's, you're renovating the house. You are how many weeks pregnant at this point?
I think I'm about a month out from giving birth.
So you're at a really critical time.
Yeah.
You're nervous. You're sending yourself WhatsApp message to the group Smiley because you're just like conscious thing. Your whole plan for birth hasn't really been sorted. So you're up at so there's a lot of anxiety going on. And you're lying in bed at night, and what happens?
So Ryan and I actually had a bit of, I won't go into details of this, but we'd had like a bit of a fight that day, and we actually, it was what's so odd as well. We decided to sleep in separate rooms at my mum's house that night. And I was really struggling with like breathing because of the pregnancy was so uncomfortable at the end because it was just, I'm really small, and he was like right up in my lungs. So I really, it's really actually, it's hard work to carry a child. I was exhausted, and I was really struggling to sleep and breathe. And this is going to sound really far-fetched.
It's just so much. It's so much. What the hell we've had surely we've evolved to make this easier.
I think people generally are getting taller. It's not really happened to us.
No, not me. I'm 5'9" on a good day.
I'm 5 foot, so I'm like, evolution has not worked in my favour.
So you're in separate beds.
Yeah, and so we slept in separate rooms, and I'd pretty much just got to sleep. And it was about 11 p.m. and my mum actually, like rare occasion, had gone out for dinner. And so when the fire alarm went off, I kind of just assumed that she'd set it off and that she'd come back home. So for that like split second moment, I kind of got out of bed and thought, oh no, it's nothing, and like sat back down. And then within seconds, I was like, oh my God, this is like, there's a fire.
Because you could smell it.
Because you can smell it. It's like a putrid, like poisonous smell. And also the smoke moves so quickly. I've just never experienced anything like this before. And this is a house that obviously I'd spent, 6 months in, and knew it really well. But the smoke was so dense that I couldn't actually see my hand. in front of me.
So the whole house is full of smoke.
Really, really, really quickly. So I ran downstairs, and I was petrified then that this was going to harm my unborn child. So I ran outside, and I was wearing just a t-shirt, like a baggy t-shirt and some pants, and ran off into the street and was just screaming. And I didn't know where, Ryan and my mum went outside at that point. And also my dogs were downstairs and they were sleeping in crates. So they were like shut in them. And yeah, I was honestly just stood on the street in the dark, very vulnerable, really, really pregnant and like half naked, just shouting for people to help. So and the neighbors and everybody ran outside, and we managed to get out, and I went into shock. And then we had an ambulance came in and the fire engines, and we were just sort of watching the whole thing.
What caused it? Do you know?
So it was a wine cooler that exploded in her basement.
Freak accident.
Crazy. Actually, how all of this stuff has happened.
Yeah.
Horrible. And I guess that was my first experience, really being in the hospital and kind of being monitored.
How's your anxiety at this point? Because this is my, I'm no therapist at all, but this is my take from it, right? You're there's a lot going on. You're feeling nervous. It's just you're feeling, man. It's just a lot. You've had a miscarriage. You're pregnant. This fire then happens. You come out. You're in shock, and you're 4 weeks away from giving birth.
Exactly. I was behaving weirdly, and actually I think my brain was slightly dissociating. But
What do you mean weirdly?
Well, everything just felt quite surreal, to be honest. Suddenly we were at my dad's flat. It was all not out of choice. I was going into this period in time where I was going to have a baby. I felt suddenly really unprepared. Like we didn't have any of the stuff. I didn't have any security or like confidence around, how I was going to give birth, because I couldn't really get through to the hospital. And I just remember going out like shopping one day and just roaming around Victoria, going to like a Zara and just feeling like a zombie, and just throwing, because I didn't have any stuff, like I didn't have clothes. So I just was throwing these weird clothes over my arm, thinking, I need some clothes. I don't really know why I'm buying these clothes, because soon, and I've got this body that's now massive, so I don't know what I'm buying, because I won't even, I guess in a bit of time, like I might be back in my house. Will I have access to stuff? My body might be smaller. Like I just didn't know what to expect from like the next couple of weeks. And I remember feeling really detached and just feeling like, I don't really know where I am. I've never been to this shop before. I don't know this area. It was a lot to go through, feeling so immobile at the end of a pregnancy, which is a really, a vulnerable time for a woman anyway, when you're going through so much.
Did you feel at that time, because, what you're describing as well, Louise, which this is, we've spoken about this before, right, is when you start to disassociate, depersonalization, disassociation, which is, I experienced that. And I don't think to an extreme which you had, but, well, maybe I did. I've told you, I've said this story, but I'll tell you again, is 27 years old, and it was like, the only way to describe it is that I had just been dealing with obviously just internal anxiety for so long. And suddenly it was like a filter came over my eyes, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I felt like I didn't exist. I felt like I was floating above my own body. And I felt that the only thing which I thought was happening is that I had gone mad.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd gone mad, and I know I've gone mad, but no one else knows I've gone mad. And this is it, and I'm losing my mind, and nothing was real. Yeah, I was autopilot the entire time.
That's a word that I like to use a lot.
Autopilot. You're just doing things.
You're on the outside. You might look like you're surviving, but you're not having a rational thought at all. No. Because every second you're going, I'm going crazy. I'm not in this realm, and it's exactly that. The first time I experienced it properly post all of the medical trauma, I was sat outside a coffee shop on my road, and Ryan had mentioned that our business partner was going to come and visit and come and join us. and then an ambulance went past, and the siren must have just clicked something in my head. And from that moment, I was in that other realm. Everything was through a filter. You're really detached. And you see everyone else is living their normal life. You're like, I want to jump back into that world.
I know,
and it's really scary. It's so scary.
Oh, Weeze, I just feel like I cannot imagine. Okay, like firstly, I was single-ish. I was living in an apartment that I had to pay a little mortgage on, but not really. I had no baby. I had I just had to worry about surviving. That's why you have everything. You have your whole life. You're pregnant. You've got your fiance. You've got your home life. You've got your businesses. You've got everything going on, and yet this is happening to you. I just don't. For anyone who's gone through disassociation, just depersonalization, to deal with that and with everything else, it's impossible.
There's nothing. That's the really tough thing about it, is there's nothing that you can you can't click your way out of it.
No.
There's no easy solution. One of the things that I've learned, it's actually one of the reasons I wrote the book, because one of the only things I could do was sit kind of in this state of paralysis almost and just write and hope that my brain then would find safety in what I was writing as I was explaining, typing out how I was feeling, that it would latch onto some kind of security and it would kind of fade away. Or I would just have to do something like really manual. So kind of build something or just go through like the mechanisms. It got to a point where, because it was so, this is obviously like a little bit later in the recovery, which was as things got less distressing, but I would then choose to do something that I really hated or really didn't want to do because my rationale being, well, I'm this is wasted life for me anyway, because I'm not living. Like, I feel detached. So I know this is not me living a life. So I'll do something that's really horrible and like a task that I don't want to have to do, because then at least I'm pushing that into the time when I'm not like rationally thinking. But yeah, I think, as you mentioned, with the time in my life for it to happen was couldn't really have been any worse, trying to be a new parent. And I was going through so much change anyway, moving into our home that we'd renovated, but that wasn't finished. And the hard thing for me was that my brain, basically, when I left the hospital, had forgotten my old life. I was so in this state of survival that I couldn't remember anything about my life. So all I could remember was hospital notes, a hospital bed, lying there and finding safety then in that environment. So then when I came home, and I didn't have really any memories in my home in this kind of new way that it was, because it had been changed, my brain just went, I don't recognize this life, Louise. Like, I don't know that I've got a child. I don't know. It just shut everything out. And then you do have those petrifying thoughts where you think, okay, this is it. Like, I've gone completely crazy. I've got dementia. I'm just not myself.
You then go to hospital, and this is the real sort of moment where just things really were tough, where you go and give birth to Leo, and you are adamant that you want a C-section. You want a C-section because you know your body and you understand it, and you feel like Leo's quite big, and you just know that it's going to be quite hectic and things like that, and it really doesn't go to plan. No.
I had, in the end, I like resigned to fate, and I went into labor on my due date, which I guess I actually kind of, again, like instinctually, I kind of knew it was going to happen. And me and Sam were both born on our due dates. So prompt.
So, isn't that? It's so prompt.
So prompt.
Always on time.
Yeah. It's one thing about me. Never gonna.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'll be on time. Yeah. I'll be on time.
Yeah.
Even if it's going to be bad, I'll be there. I'll be on time.
I was there. Leo was there.
We were there, ready to go.
And it just, I guess it kind of went from, it was really tricky from the outset. He was back to back, so his kind of.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that so he was head down, which I guess they would say is engaged, so kind of in the right position for childbirth, but the optimum is that their face is facing inward, so their face is facing your back, your spine.
Okay.
But he was the other way around, which meant that he was like grinding against my spine, and it was incredibly painful.
How big is he?
Well, he ended up being 7 pounds, which is pretty bang on average. But
You're so little.
But I'm so small, so his head got stuck in my pelvis, and there were a number of things that weren't right. So, it took a really long time for them to give me an epidural, and there's a window of tolerance, and it was outside of that. They couldn't get it in. Then they tried different people, and so I was in excruciating pain for a really long time. They broke my waters, and there was meconium in the waters, which is a sign of fetal distress. So it should have been escalated.
What's that again? I'm just going to ask these because teach me. Yeah.
And actually, I really want to educate, because at some point, I guess like you and Sophie might want to like. Start
and we're thinking
family.
about it, right? And I want to know all these things. So
meconium is the baby's poo.
Okay.
So they've pooed inside you. It's pretty hideous, actually.
Yeah.
And if
but that happens, right?
Not. It's when the whole kind of in the build up to like childbirth, if it's not good, because they can then
poisons the blood.
Yeah, they like breathe it in, so then they can get a chest infection. Yeah, and also then you can get infections, and you can both get sort of sepsis, and it just is not good. But there was no escalation of anything, even though that had happened, and I the whole time throughout all of this, I was just feeling worse and worse and worse physically, mentally, and I had a couple of junior doctors that would come in and try to just encourage me to keep going. And I was saying to everybody, I need to have a C-section, as you know, my temperature's going up. They are treating me for sepsis at this point. And it wasn't until 8 a.m. The following day, when they have a shift change, that a consultant came in and tried to kind of manually get the baby out. I should say Leo, but it's better actually for me to kind of detach Leo from it, because I don't associate him with the childbirth. So if I often refer to the baby, it's not me being unsensitive. It's just that, you know, Leo is my Leo now, and like this wasn't good.
Louise, it's your journey as well. You do whatever you want.
Thank you.
100%. Don't feel like you need to defend yourself ever. It really, like, do you.
Yeah.
Whatever makes you feel good and makes you feel happy and is right for your family, you do you. 100%. Fuck everyone else.
Yeah, fuck
100% fuck everyone else. Like, ignore that noise. It doesn't matter. This is you.
I know. It's not. It's of course it's not. It's not about other people. But yeah, and then they couldn't get him out, so we went to theatre. And by that point, then everything had kind of got to the stage where it was then an emergency, needed to be turned around really quickly. And yeah, and unfortunately, it was. You know, a C-section typically lasts, I think, like 30 minutes it can be done in. And my operation was over 3 hours, which is really a significant amount of time to be lying there awake. And there's just so much blood loss, and I didn't know what was happening. And, you know, there are still things to this day that I wake up and think, I think I'm ready to, like, write that list of questions and get even more answers. But one of the explanations I've had is that... instead of, there should just be a sort of an incision across the front that they can pull the baby out of. But I believe that like my whole uterus basically like snapped, and so then it was a real kind of fix-up job. Yeah, and you know, and one of the hardest things during that operation as well was the moment where I had like a bit of temporary hope, because Ryan, I honestly thought I was going to give up. I was sort of fighting to stay awake, because I just was worried that what might happen to me if I shut my eyes ever, that I might just give up.
When you're in that situation, you think you're dying. What does it feel like?
Well, in that moment, I guess like the little energy that I had was looking around the room, absorbing any bit of information that I could cling on to and think, okay, someone's face, like the name of like a blood platelet thing, like trying to figure out like, okay, what can I do with all of this stuff that I'm absorbing right now to try and survive? Like you just track back through everything you've ever remembered in your life, and you think, how can I get through this? How can I survive? Like every instance is saying like, I just need to keep here and keep alive. Then when I did get moved onto a trolley, I actually thought that I had died, and that because I didn't basically my whole body was just moved and plonked onto a metal trolley, and I didn't recognize anyone in the room at that point. And like the transition into that place just all feels really blurry. But when I was, so when I had they call it like a massive obstetric hemorrhage.
Which is
when, a week-ish after I gave birth, when I was sent home, I then had like a major hemorrhage at home where I had like blood basically pouring out of me. And I then had to get an ambulance back in. And that was actually more significant because obviously there was quite a long period of time then before even getting into when I say long period of time, it feels like a long period of time before then getting back into theatre. And that I lost 5.5 litres of blood. So I probably, someone of my size has maybe got 3 litres. So all the blood in my body and just, keeping on pouring, horrible. And then I really thought, okay, this is it. And I thought, I can't believe that my family are going to cry every day for the rest of their life because I'm not going to be here. I can't believe that I wasted so much time working and also building, doing this renovation, and I'm never going to get to live there. What was the point? It was really sad. Of course I thought about my family a lot. And I was on my own in those moments because Ryan wasn't allowed through the double doors. Having kind of been, once I was like taken off the ambulance, and there's actually nothing worse than that. And my heart really goes out to anybody that lost anybody during the COVID time, because nobody should ever have to go through that alone. It's not okay. But in the end, with that was arguably like more serious. I did then go to theatre and they did put me to sleep. And I was begging to be put to sleep at that point because I was in so much torture in my head. And it's really hard to explain like how you actually feel in that moment. But it just felt like it was torture. Like it just felt like I had like poison in my head. And I didn't want to witness it anymore. Like to be flooded full of that much existential fear. I was begging this one lady, put me to sleep, put me to sleep, put me to sleep, put me to sleep, because I wanted it to end. And at that point I then really didn't care if I died or not. I just wanted it to all be over. And then I woke up in intensive care, and that was sort of the beginning of a long journey of recovery, really.
Louise, I mean, man, I'm so sorry. I'm so
mad, isn't it?
It is so mad. And I'm sure people can relate when you're just so, like, in the sense of like you're just like you want a moment of relief.
Yeah.
I just don't want, this is just what's going on, just put me to sleep. I just don't want it. I can't handle it.
Like I can't live in
I
this
can't
moment
live in this moment.
And I suppose like when I've had some PTSD flashbacks, I then can be doing something completely normal at home and then re-experiencing that feeling out of nowhere. And there have been times then when I've said, I just want to bash my head into a wall, or you have to take me back into hospital so they can put me to sleep, because like sleep is the only break that you get, or just being out, like gone, just take it away.
Do you know what's so impressive is how much of a fighter you are? Your resilience. That is. And I was going to say it at the beginning because if we go back to Made in Chelsea times, right? Just for a brief second, you were so resilient on that. As much as you cried, and as much as it was. What people don't realise about Made in Chelsea or reality TV in general is it's very heavy on the soul.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. And you dealt with a lot on it, like we all did, but you particularly dealt with
I was an idiot. I don't know why I dated everybody. I couldn't say no. I just went, okay, and then I'll fall in love with you, and then you'll break up with me and cheat, and then I'll be crying for another month. I just love love.
Yeah, I just love. But even on that show, you were so resilient. I remember just thinking how resilient you were on it. You were so resilient. Did you think that? I swear to God.
Did you?
And I'm not saying to butter you up you were always so resilient. Yeah, because just got through it, and I'm pretty resilient.
You're very resilient.
Yeah,
as well.
I just get through it, and I always was like, "You're resilient. You can just get through it." And we complain and things like you just get through it. And I honestly, truly think the reason why you survived this is because of your resilience. Because as much as you just didn't give up.
I know, and I really wanted to give up.
You were, throughout the whole thing, not through the whole thing, but you were very open on social media. And I thought that was amazing. I thought it was incredible that you were doing that, when I was so anxious and feeling fucking awful,
Yeah.
I found relief in talking to strangers because it was too close to talk to friends or family. I couldn't do it. But talking to strangers, there felt like there was no judgment for some reason. And I could tell all of my secrets to these strangers.
Yeah.
And that's what I found. Did you have that?
I felt exactly that, Jay.
It's so weird, isn't it? Why is that?
I suppose there's something in like, with every relationship you already have that exists, there's something that's triggering in that. Like, because even, you know, having the conversations with like people that you love, like close family and friends, like there might have been a moment in time when, like, you know, something has happened, or it's a completely fresh perspective, isn't it? Talking to somebody that's
nailed it.
That's new. And also, you don't have to have the ongoing relationships. There's no commitment.
It stops.
You don't have to pick it up or continue it. You can share, and then, you know, like, actually that's done. Like, because, you know, going through suffering with the debilitating anxiety is so exhausting. Like, you don't really, when you're in a really bad way, you don't have a lot of like space or capacity for relationships or, you know, with other people. There's no room. Like, Ryan and I barely had a conversation in the first 6 months postpartum because we just didn't have, with the amount of suffering we were going through individually, we just didn't have the space for a relationship. And I guess that's the thing about strangers, is that you don't have to commit. Like,
you've perfectly worded that. It's so true. You can say your bit and then you can move, and there's no, because I think one of the things when I saw you and one of the things you said, which was so amazing, is that you forget the impact on your partner. Mm-hmm. And as much as, you know, your book Lucky, which is going to help so many people and so many amazing, and it's your story and what happens, and I'm sure you touch on lots of things in it, and I know you do, and it's incredible. You give birth to Leo, and you speak about it in your book, and you've spoken about it here. You would call Leo the baby because you can't. It's too much to be attached to this thing. You're triggered all the time. You didn't change Leo's nappy for 6 weeks or something like that because you couldn't do it. You know, breastfeeding wasn't comfortable. So many things you were dealing with, and so your partner Ryan
had to be there.
Has to step up.
And Ryan is someone that he's really good with kids. Like, he's got younger nieces and nephews, and he's amazing with them, and he's actually super sensitive. But Ryan wasn't like super, you know, he wasn't attending all the NCT classes.
What's NCT, do I know?
So that's like a kind of, while you're pregnant, you can do these classes where you learn about like the basics of how to look after a baby. And then also some pregnancy stuff. So yeah, I mean, I knew like a little bit. Ryan didn't know that much. And he was fully thrown in at the deep end because he basically like pretty much lost his partner. And that must have been really, really scary for him because he was basically like the caregiver for Leo and also for me. He had to be my voice. And so it was really, really, really traumatic for him. And it's something that I'm only really realizing now. And it's taken me 2 years to get to a place where I'm actually able to like think about someone else's point of view. And now I'm really like, wow, I'm realizing that the effect that it's had on all of my members of my family and actually how amazing they've been, because when you're in the thick of it and you're so depressed and so confused, you're basically triggered by everything. So like someone doing something not quite right is like, oh my gosh, it becomes like a cataclysmic problem. And it's
confusing for them. It's confusing for them because no one gets it.
No one gets it. So out of nowhere, I would be like at home lying on the sofa and suddenly I'd have this awful like sensory flashback where I would just then start pacing and shouting and going, I'm dying, what's happening to me? And think actually, and I can't even imagine what that must be like for Ryan. He wouldn't, and it was a large chunk of time. Like I would just be lying in this one spot in the corner of this room. And at the time I thought, you know, there's a period in time where I thought, I can't believe he kind of just left me in there, wasn't like constantly hand holding, but he had to look after the baby next door. Like he had to do that. He would come in, light some incense or something in the room. And I just had like days where I basically was staring into space, like blank.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really bad. I almost struggle to
talk about it,
to think about it, because it's really dark, and and I'll obviously like never get that time back with my baby. It's really sad.
Yeah, but it's also like,
it's okay.
It's okay, man.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's so okay, buddy. Like 100%. You kidding me?
And now, like the light following the shaders, I do think, like, because it's for Ryan to say, but there were definitely times where we shouldn't have stayed together, and we were close to not staying together. I'm so glad that we fought to get through it, because now I do think that we will be indestructible. Like, I'm not sure what would be able to break us up. Like, I just don't think. Like,
don't think.
I don't think
anything's gonna touch.
I don't think anything else is gonna happen. By the way,
all the wood here. Louise, I keep being fed clips of Made in Chelsea at the moment.
I love that it's just having this like resurgence.
Hello. Wow, was I an arsehole? I got fed one about me and Sophie, my wife, where she's like saying, you slept with her in the morning and then me in the evening. And I go, did I? Like, I'm just like...
Like you've forgotten?
Like I've forgotten. Like I've forgotten that next morning. Do you look back at that time and miss it? Did you love it?
Like,
what is
love, hate.
Yeah,
I think now that enough time has passed, I look back on it really fondly, and I'm like, I think I miss it. Like, it was actually really good, but it was really like hard at the time. Just being like constantly the abuse that we would get online.
I remember because I remember we kissed at a cricket ground. I'm sure it was our first kiss. And I remember I was very early to it. Like, I didn't really understand what was going on, and the producers took me and they're like, you should kiss her. And I was like, why she doesn't want to? And they were like, no, I think little did I know that they were like to you, you gotta kiss him.
So messed up.
So messed up.
Do you remember that picture?
So messed up.
We had to kiss like as someone walked past. It was at a party that we filmed, and then you're like in the weirdest pose ever. You look like a velociraptor. It's your arms are like this, and you're going like in like this.
Like I'm like a dementor that I'm sucking your soul out.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. We had quite a fruity trip as well, didn't we? We don't need to go there.
Wait, as in going to Norway? Do you remember?
Yeah, Norway.
Okay, I got to say this. If you're a big MIC fan, you'll know we went to Norway, and it was probably one of the most outrageous trips ever. We filmed out there to see the Northern Lights. The whole cast and crew, I think, were the drunkest anyone's ever been in their entire life. I think I bought the bar. It was.
How do you feel about it?
Look, it had its ups and downs. You have to be freaking resilient, and it was tough. But we have got so much out of it. We had the best time ever, and would I do it all again? Yeah, I think I would. Would you do it all again?
Like go back in time? I wouldn't not do it, because I'm happy with where I'm at right now in life, and it actually, we have so much to be thankful for, which is crazy, because at the time we were like, you guys are ruining our lives, and now they didn't. But
I do want to say this, is that 200 and something people have been an MIC cast. I think it's like 200 people. I think maybe not that many. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating. But it's definitely 100. Like, there's got to be 100 cast members, right? And not many people achieve things afterwards in terms of this entertainment. They achieve other things personally or in business or stuff like this, but continue in this world of entertainment, it's very hard.
Yeah.
And there are a select few who probably have done that. You being...
probably, you're like, and I'm one of them. I've got a pretty big business. Yeah. And I got several podcasts.
And we should probably end it there. So, on me. But it's true. But you have, and so, but you've had to work. We've all had to work incredibly hard, because being a reality star, you straight away are Marmite. You're liked, you're hated.
Yeah.
And
it's like not always the easiest label to get on with.
Do you look back at any things that were cringe? Because do you know?
The worst thing for me was when the producers told me to open a door, and Spencer turned up in this car, and I think it was
Can't wait.
It said, Louise, you need to say, hey, nice wheels. And I fucking did it. It was right at the beginning. I literally opened the door and went, hey, nice wheels. I was a puppet. I was honestly like patting their hands. I was the best they
You
just
were the
won
greatest.
with me.
You were the greatest. Because, I mean, still to this day, and last thing I'll mention on it, because it just was a fun time for you and I, and it was just great. But still, honestly, the iconic scene, you and Spencer on the bridge. Yeah, and it's just...
It's nuts.
It just does the rounds occasionally.
Like, because I was off social media for quite a long time after having Leo, I didn't see any of the hype around it. But then because I love like reality TV.
Love it.
And I love Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Sophie
and Carl
loves it.
Richards spoke about the scene, the bridge scene, and she was calling him an arsehole. I was like, yeah, cheers.
Yeah, I fucking made it. You know, you've had this experience recently, which you very bravely came out on social media.
Yeah. God, I even forgot about it for a second.
Yeah, you were like, what's he talking about?
Yeah.
But you did, and I want to. It's a stoma back.
Yeah.
And you speak about how the fact that you think your antidepressants that you were taking, because you were filled with so many different things, led you to having your bowels, you were constantly going to the bath and you constantly needed to go and take a poo and all these different things. And this has led to the situation that you're in now. Is that right?
So I'll
You probably explain.
Yeah, I'll explain.
Don't know why I'm telling your story.
That's good.
If anyone wants to know
Thank you.
Louise's story, just come to me. I'm here.
Come to me and then listen to me.
And then listen to me. I'll tell you the story for you.
So I was diagnosed with an inflammatory bowel disease about 6 years ago, and it was fine. It never really impacted my life. It was very like low grade, and I like occasionally took some medication for it, but it didn't have an impact on my standard of living at all. And then post childbirth, everything, there was just like a concoction of everything. I think like the drugs I was on, as you mentioned, the antidepressants, I was on antipsychotics, I was on a real like cocktail. I think I just had there was so much going on with my physiology. So the hormones postpartum, and also maybe I'd had all these blood products and just a lot, like infiltrating such a small body. And the trauma as well. And the stress is obviously the main thing that causes ulcers. So my immune system went crazy and basically started attacking the lining of my colon, and I did have a flare up. So I was losing a lot of blood, and I was going to the loo, and pooing myself out. I don't know, if I don't laugh, I'll cry, and if I don't cry, I'll laugh. So, but
laugh or cry, honestly,
together at the same time.
I'm in. I'm totally. I've cried on this before. I've laughed on this before. Let's go. I'm in with you, dude.
Poo.
Yeah, I'll poo.
You love talking about bums.
Oh,
and
man,
stuff.
I shit all the time. Let's go for it. Come on, I'm with you all the way in this. So let's go, 100%.
So yeah, it was embarrassing, except it wasn't, because I was so all over the shop mentally that I didn't really care. So I was out and about, and I would just I would have these accidents, and my family were like, "This is really bad. You can't live your life like this. So we need to do something about it." So I did manage to get on the phone. I just remember I could hardly string a sentence together. But we kind of escalated to the gastro team, and then it was more going in and out of the hospital, and I managed to get treated. And this is sort of 3-4 months postpartum to maybe 10 months postpartum. I ended up being hospitalized, and they actually managed to stop the problem with some medical treatment, so drugs. And then I had a period where I was actually okay for a year, and then kind of around the back end of last year, I started getting bad again. And it's just the nature of the beast with these inflammatory bowel diseases that they're chronic. So you can have periods of remission, but then you'll have a flare up where the symptoms get bad again. So you're kind of riding this wave of good and bad. And I thought, you know what, I've ridden the wave before. I'll get better, because I have every other time, and it's not led to anything really, really destructive. And it was too bad. I couldn't fight it, and I went away at the beginning of this year because I really wanted to have a good January, because I had 2 really bad Januaries.
I think I deserve it.
Yeah, I think it's time for me to take a little break from this thing I call life.
I might take a holiday. Let's go and have some chill time.
Which ended up being a nightmare, because I was back in hospital 3rd year on a trot. It's a joke at this point.
Because you went to the Caribbean, didn't you?
I went to the Caribbean with my dad, and
it's quite far as well. Like it's
yeah.
I'm just going to take a 14-hour flight all the way across the world. But you were in so much pain, weren't you? You said you were in so much pain.
But the thing is Jay, I'd been through so much. I was like, I'm so resilient now that nothing will touch the surface, because the birth trauma was so bad that I don't care about the battles. Like it's a ridiculous thing to say, but I honestly was like, I genuinely believe I can get through anything.
So you were just gritting your teeth and just getting through this?
Yeah, massively.
My God, man.
And yeah, and then I was going to the loo like all night and just, I mean, honestly, just losing a lot of blood, a lot. I didn't understand actually where it could all be coming from. So I flew back early and ended up in A&E, and then spent a couple of weeks I spent a week basically in hospital where they tried to manage things through like drugs, and it just wasn't improving the problem, and every, you know, the bloods were kind of trending in the wrong direction. My body wasn't really absorbing nutrients properly, and then that's actually when the pain started getting really bad. So I kind of gave in and had the surgery. I didn't really have any fight left in me, and I was much stronger mentally going into it, but I thought, like, I can't do this anymore, and I'm in like a really triggering place for me. I'm back in the hospital, and you're witnessing things that are just so it's like going on holiday, like to Mars, being in a hospital, spending time there. Just all of the things you witness, it's so alien unless you work in that field. I just wanted to get out, basically. There are people that have inflammatory bowel diseases that they don't want to have the surgery, and sometimes they'll spend months in hospital because they'd rather do that, and they'd rather just keep like pushing and try new meds and stuff and tried to get through. But I thought, like, I need to get out of here. Like, I don't want to be here any longer.
Yeah.
And I want to get home to my son. And if the surgery is going to be the ticket out, then like, yeah, do it. And it was it was rough. Like, I was really ill. Like, I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. Like, the pain is, I get why people, like, again, don't want to live when you're in that much, like, I mean, the pain is like unimaginable, even on like fentanyl and every like concoction of everything. It was so bad because, and I was encouraged to get out of bed because it's good, it's good for recovery, but awful, Jay. Yeah, but really, I think that like the people I had like around me at that time, my family, we developed a bit of like we kind of knew how to run this drill at this point as well.
We know what's going on.
We know what's going on. We know who to speak to.
Right, Sam, you get in position. Okay.
Yeah, like my dad bring the food.
Okay, here we go. Right.
My mum took on my arm.
Yeah, we're all ready. Here we go, team.
Yeah.
Like you're like the sort of transformer team together. They just sort of transform out of everything. You're ready to go because you've been here before. It's amazing.
That's exactly it.
It's amazing, though. It's amazing. Because in the work, do you know what? In times of crisis, it brings you so close to one another.
Yeah.
And you know who your team is, and they got your back.
I'm so lucky to have them.
Yeah, you got your back. 100%.
So we got out, and now it sort of all feels like a bit of a dream. And the like bag thing obviously is just it's inconsequential because I feel okay, and I felt so ill for so long that having like a grey bag attached to me just is I really have never been less phased about something in my life.
Wow, how insane is that?
That is resilience from the previous experiences
Correct.
I've been through, because this would have bothered me a lot before when I was doing all my like women's healthy stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, body, look at me flipping abs. And now, I mean, I can't even like imagine being that person.
Do you think, and on your book, Lucky, do you think you've written this because you wanted to get down everything in your head onto people, but also, as you said, you want, as you said, people to pick it up? And I love the little thing you said, which I want to be that sort of beacon of hope almost for people who can't turn to anyone, they don't know where they're going, and that's why from your own words, why did you want to write it, and why do you want people to read it?
I think it is just that. It's just giving people like hope, even if they haven't necessarily been through the exact series of events that I've been through. It's knowing that there is just the light at the end of the tunnel, so to keep moving. And I mean, there's obviously an element of it too that's helped me hugely, just being it from like the processing standpoint, to get everything that I've been through like down on paper, and just, you know,
because it goes back to your smiley WhatsApp, I feel.
Does.
Yeah.
And I've always been someone that likes to share.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like nice and quite like full circle. And then I can just come to the end and I can go. And even now that I know it's coming out this week, like, I feel a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. There was, you know, I wasn't ready to share what really happened to me, like, at all at the beginning. And and it's taken such a long time to actually figure out like how to navigate it sensitively as well, knowing that most of like our followers are, well, a lot of them are like females of childbearing age. Like, I don't want to just go in and like scare people all the time. So I thought I'll put it into something which people can like digest reasonably easily with a trigger warning in there. And they can choose to read it or not. And then I don't have to constantly kind of like, I won't be forever answering the questions as well.
Completely. Louise, I've got 8 questions to give you as well, but can I just say, I really adore you.
I adore you too,
I
Jay.
really
We've got
do.
so much flipping history.
Yeah, we have so much history together. I know we don't see each other that much, but
well, hopefully now we will in the next chapter.
Yeah, but also just doesn't matter. I see you and it's exactly the same, and we don't need to see each other all the time or message all the time. But I do want you to know that I'm always around, and always looking in, and always seeing how you're doing, and always supporting you from the sideline. Just because what you have achieved and what you've got through, and having come from a place which is so minor compared to yours, but I understand that sort of the mental strain on things. It's just insane. So you're great.
Thank you.
You ready for 8 questions?
I don't know.
Okay, we fire them out. What's a saying or phrase that makes you smile or cheers you up?
Ooh, okay. Well, then I think of something that Leo said.
Yeah, there you go.
Mummy poo poo.
There you go.
He says it a lot.
There you go.
He's obsessed with. He's obsessed with you as I am.
There you go. There you go. Okay. Best compliment anyone's ever given you?
My mum. During this tough time, she turned to me and said, I really struggle with saying really nice things about myself.
Stop it.
So I'm going to say you're one of the strongest people I know.
No.
She actually said you're the strongest person I know.
Say that one more time.
My mum turned to me when I was at a really, really tough time, and said to me that you are the strongest person I know. And I looked like her in the eye, and I actually really, really believed that in that moment.
Good, and I hope you still believe it.
Moment.
There you go. Honestly, take it. Don't push it. Take it. What scares you most about yourself?
Nothing so much anymore. Like, what scared me was the depths of where my brain took me. Like, that was really, really, really scary, because I just didn't know that existed. But now that I've come out the other side, I don't think I'm a much less scared person, because I know that I can get through most things.
When was the last time you cried, and why?
Do you ask everyone that?
Yeah, always.
I almost cried today.
Yeah.
I did. I was speaking to Lorraine Kelly, and she just was really nice to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people are so nice, it makes you cry in a good way.
Love that. What's something you can't let go of?
I think I'll never let go of. I'll never be able to forget or let go of the fact that I missed out on a positive birth experience with my son, like those first moments, those early days.
What's something that you'd be embarrassed for people to know you like or want?
I was thinking about this, and I just had to say, like, reality TV. I'm obsessed with reality TV. I love it. I've even started watching Me and Chelsea again. I had to stop after we left because I didn't want to miss it.
I might rewatch it.
It's so good.
Is it really good?
Yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch it. I can't wait.
It's just like Oh my
It's just
God.
great TV.
It's so good. I actually even like I've got a big day today. Like I'm here with you. I've had a busy morning. Last night I just had to watch it. I was like, this needs to be a priority.
I can't wait. I'm going to go and rewatch it. I love that.
It's so funny.
What turns you off?
I don't know, like people, like people, bad manners.
Yeah, same as me.
Like people chewing with their mouth full, like people holding their cutlery wrong. I feel
Yeah,
like,
not opening door to people,
not
not
bloody
say,
hard.
yeah, I know, not saying
Yeah.
nice things. I completely, yeah, bad manners. I mean, what turns you on?
Ryan. What does?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Topless or not topless?
Don't mind.
There we go. Love it. What do you like most about yourself?
My smile,
Oh, Louise.
which I lost for so long. It's nice to be a smiley person. I don't know. It's hard.
Okay, bonus one. What's your favourite swear word?
C-bomb.
The C-bomb.
No, I don't know. I use actually just fuck quite a lot.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's a popular one.
I shouldn't say this, but Leo now says, it says in the Gruffalo, he says fuckalo. And I'm like, oh my God, that is not okay. We don't swear in front of him.
Everyone, I want you to go and get Louise's book, Lucky. We're going to leave all the links in the description. Also, just anything you want to follow with Louise, it's all in the description below. So check it out. Louise, adore you. Thank you so much for coming on. You have been the most amazing company. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me and for giving me this amazing platform. It's so nice to get together.
Do I want